Right now on Denver 7 News at 7 o'clock on Local 3, Congress and Colorado lawmakers are working on a quick fix to the nationwide baby formula crisis.
We've had more calls for people who are requesting milk, but we've also had more calls from people who are seeing this crisis and really want to get involved and give back.
So we are talking to a local milk bank about the push from Governor Polis to give struggling families a new option.
Also this morning, the Denver Police Department is facing more lawsuits. We're breaking down the latest claims about how officers handle protesters.
And the Avs open up their series against the St. Louis Blues in exciting fashion, a thrilling overtime win at Ball Arena as the crowd goes wild. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Brian Sanders.
And I'm Nicole Brady. Lisa, going to be pretty warm out there today. Not hockey thinking weather, huh?
No, yeah, 2 more warm days, today and tomorrow, and then a big change on Friday. We'll take a look at your forecast there around Ball Arena for tomorrow night's game coming up here in just a few minutes. Upper 50s, though, already close to about 60 degrees here this morning. It's actually going to be a pretty pleasant day today. Some fairly light winds. Some of the clouds we're seeing this morning will clear up. We'll be at about 75 degrees by noon, and then we'll hit a high close to 80 this afternoon with, again, winds at about 5 to 15 miles per hour. There is a slight chance for a few isolated storms. I'll show you where here in just a minute, but as you get up into the foothills, it's going to be 60s and 70s today with, again, some sunshine. We'll get a few building clouds, and there is going to be a marginal to slight risk for some severe weather, mainly over parts of southeastern Colorado. So those storms will likely develop there along the Palmer Divide, and we'll see some stronger ones south and east. Coming up, we're going to take a look at the big storm, the big spring storm that's about to hit our state, and just how much snow, Jason, we could see in the mountains here in a few minutes.
Yeah, I think we're going to have some travel troubles because of that, as the snowfall rates are going to be pretty significant into the foothills. Right now, we do have a problem on 225, the southbound side, right before you get to Yosemite. Take a look. Just a moment ago, Air Tracker 7 was over it, and you see that one car sitting right here in the center part of the highway. There's a truck over here on the right shoulder, and so with that car obviously disabled, it can't move, so everybody's trying to go left or right around it, and that's why traffic, as you can see on the map here this morning, is looking at 25 minutes from Parker Road all the way down to that scene, and then getting to I-25. So that's one of the trouble spots right now. The overall drive around Aurora is 30 minutes. That's calculating it from I-70 all the way down to I-25. So that's one trouble spot of the morning. The rest of the drive pretty standard, half an hour into downtown from the north end freeways, but the west side of town still pretty quiet with a few problems, like one at Alameda and Sheridan with a crash there.
Well, we know how tough it has been lately for new families to find baby formula on store shelves. Supply is down, the shelves are empty right now, but help is on the way. The House of Representatives will vote on several measures today.
One bill they're looking at would allow people under the Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, or WIC, to use vouchers on any brand of formula. The other would give the FDA $28 million to increase their staff in charge of inspecting formula before it's sent to grocery stores. And another measure would help companies prepare for future shortages.
The FDA is looking to increase imports of baby formula with a more streamlined review process. Nestle is also flying supplies into the U.S. from both the Netherlands and Switzerland. Abbott Labs is also ramping up production of Similac at its Columbus, Ohio facility. The company's main production facility in Michigan is still closed over sanitation concerns.
And Colorado lawmakers are taking action to help families right here. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta joins us with details on a partnership just announced by the governor.
Well, some parents in our state, they might be waking up, heading out to the grocery store, trying to find whatever baby formula they can. This is after weeks of it being scarce on those grocery store shelves. Now, even though Abbott, a company that makes baby formula, just got a new deal with the FDA, it could be upwards of 8 weeks until we really see those grocery store shelves get restocked to what they were like months ago. Now, that's exactly why Governor Polis has partnered up and really is encouraging donation of milk through a partnership with a nonprofit. So here's exactly how this partnership is going to work. The state, along with the Mother's Milk Bank, they're calling for donations of either breast milk or financial donations that could really help families offset some of those costs. This is also an effort to really highlight options that exist for parents out there who need to get milk to their babies.
Not every parent is able to breastfeed. Not every family has direct access to milk themselves. So, whether they're going to formula or to donor human milk, either way, they're just trying to find a way to feed their baby.
Now, the cost is something that the partnership between the state and Mother's Milk Bank doesn't really address. Typically, an ounce of donated milk that can cost parents between $3 and $5. So if the average infant is drinking about 25 ounces of milk a day, that can cost families more than $500 a week. So if you're watching this morning and you're interested at all in donating some milk, you can do that by filling out a form. There are some requirements as well at the website rmchildren.org. You can also always make that financial donation as well. We're live in Denver this morning. I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
All right, thank you, Veronica. Speaking in Buffalo yesterday, President Biden called the weekend mass shooting at a grocery store there domestic terrorism and called on Americans to reject white supremacy. Documents show the suspect planned the attack at least 2 months earlier. And just 30 minutes before the shooting, he invited a small group of people to view a chat log on the platform Discord, which he had been using to plot the attack. A spokesperson for Discord told CNN they don't have any evidence that anyone actually saw that chat before the shooting.
A man who shot 2 people while aiming at a Jeep that was driving through a crowd of protesters has now been sentenced to 120 days in jail, followed by 5 years probation. Samuel Young fired 5 shots during a protest against police violence on I-225 in Aurora back in the summer of 2020. Young apologized to the people he shot at the sentencing hearing. Both of them survived. Denver taxpayers could be on the hook for yet another lawsuit for these 2020 George Floyd protests. A dozen more demonstrators are accusing Denver police of using excessive force. Denver 7's Jessica Crawford joins us with the allegations coming just weeks after an historic verdict in a similar case.
Brian, this lawsuit claims that Denver police indiscriminately used tear gas and shot projectiles at peaceful protesters. Plus, it alleges that they knowingly endangered protesters by using excessive force. This is a look back at those protests that happened about 2 years ago. 12 protesters are making these recent allegations. They filed suit against the city and county of Denver following local protests after the 2020 police murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. The people filing suit here also say that officers tried to intimidate and deter people from, quote, exercising their First Amendment rights of free speech and assembly. The suit claims that DPD used less lethal weapons indiscriminately and without any or adequate warning, even at times when the crowd was merely chanting, kneeling, or standing with their hands up. This case comes months after a $14 million verdict was awarded to other protesters on March 25th. Some of the attorneys who worked on that suit are working on this one as well. More than a dozen lawsuits have been filed against Denver in connection with these protests, and the time to file is running out. The statute of limitations is 2 years, and the protest started in May of 2020.
Thank you, Jessica. The partner of former Aurora Police Chief Vanessa Wilson is out on bond this morning. Robin Nasita turned herself into the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office yesterday. She's accused of making a disturbing false child abuse report against an Aurora city councilor. That councilor, Danielle Jurinsky, believes it was retaliation because Jurinsky had criticized the former police chief. Hey, the Avs are off to a great start in round 2 of the playoffs.
Maybe you were up for it last night to see the game winner. It was a preview maybe of how this series might go because it was a back and forth battle the whole time. The Avs finally won 3-2 in overtime. It was Josh Manson with the great game-winning goal, able to send the puck through a very narrow window to the back of the net. But of course, it got the roar of the hometown crowd there, and it was his first playoff goal. Game 2 is tomorrow night at 7:30. The merger that could turn a local company into the 5th largest airline is getting new support. The major union now backing the deal.
And it is now official, 2 Aurora elementary schools will close despite pleas from parents. We're looking at the next steps.